Now, well-known journalist Tshidi Madia has passed away. This happened earlier this morning following a short illness. Now, without a doubt, Madia's passing came as a huge shock to many. And joining us in paying tribute to Tshidi is SABC Journalist Samkele Maseko. Samkele, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. I mean, many of us would remember Tshidi at different stages of our lives, and she's someone who's always present. Wherever you bump into her, whatever story she's on, and I remember the many assignments would bump into her right as we're working as journalists. One thing is that Tshidi made her presence felt not only amongst us as colleagues, but also even, in the different stories that she would have covered.
Indeed, Bongo, she did make her presence felt, and it was only her human nature that she was like that, because she was very informative. She had that love for humanity and was able to even correct politicians there and then. I remember when Colin Maine, the then president of the ANC Youth League, would say something derogatory about women, she would stand up and say, "Whoa, Colin, you can't do that. That is not right. Don't do that." She'd even say it to the incumbent leaders of the ANC Youth League, like Colin Malachi at this point in time, and a number of ANC and other political party leaders. We look at the affectionate relationship she had with the rogues and the scoundrels and even the goods and the princes of politics. And it just tells you that she had that aura to engage with all and sundry, even if she would ask you the most difficult of questions that would threaten a politician's career. But afterwards, they would have that cordial relationship because people understood that it is not personal with Tshidi Madia. She is only doing her job. You'd only even look at her love and affection for her municipality in Ekurhuleni and how she wanted Ekurhuleni to thrive. When Ekurhuleni coalition was not doing well when it comes to service delivery under a coalition government, whether it stemmed from Zandile Masina, going to Tanya Campbell, and also going to other mayors who came after Tanya Campbell in Ekurhuleni, she spoke out openly against everyone who did anything wrong when it comes to public resources and the government purse.
And Samkele, when you think about Tshidi, right, it's very difficult for someone not to have a story about Tshidi, because Tshidi was that kind of individual. And I remember when we were young reporters out on the ground, myself, it would be Aldrin, it would be, Clement, and you think about Nhlanhla Sihuma and all of that, and we'd all be out in the field, and there will always be a story or another, and deep, deep laughter, but you always knew where she stood. And I wonder for you personally, as a colleague, having worked with her on various number of stories, what are some of the moments that you'd remember about Tshidi?
We always engaged with Tshidi on politics. Whenever there was a contentious issue within the country, she would call me, we'd have long discussions. I know even at home, my wife would even say, "You and Tshidi have a brotherly sisterly relationship," and it is so marvelous to watch your relationship. Because she would listen, we would talk, we'd engage. She'd pick my brain on what this meant. She would be able to read a political play from a mile away before it even plays itself out, and would engage on those particular issues. Personally, when my son was born, she was one of the first colleagues who bought my son some gifts. I thought my son would be a girl, so she bought pink clothes for him. But evidently, I appreciated that gesture, that she was able to translate a work relationship into a brother-sister relationship and be that particular aunt to her children, and even ask, "How are your children? How's your wife? How's the family? How's the family in KwaZulu-Natal?" And she'd even relate her stories of when she goes back home to Limpopo. When she passes by any market, she'd get fruits for us to come back, give us mangoes, give us avocados, bananas, etc., whatever fruit or vegetable that there is to get there in Limpopo at that particular season and time. She would bring those back. So she was that person who was able to check on you. Even when you were being trolled on social media, she would call you and say, "Are you okay? Don't mind them. Just log off your social media accounts, focus on something else. It will die down, then you can come back to social media again." She loved the craft. She loved nurturing and mentoring young journalists, and saying that, particularly with the younger crop that is there now, where she worked at Eyewitness News, your Alpha Ramshwana, your Thabiso Koba. She was mentoring those young, brilliant journalists to be household names and be given opportunities that they were also given at a very young age to enter the industry. But also what really comes to mind to me is that affectionate relationship she had with the troublesome then Secretary General of the ANC, Elias Sekhobela Mahashule, where Ace was able to confide in Tshidi whenever he's faced with problems. He knew that he could call Tshidi Madia, he'd call Samkele Maseko, and would engage in.
All right, so that's my colleague there, Samkele Maseko, sharing, in fact, his reflections on the life of Tshidi Madia. Samkele, we seem to have lost you there, but we'll leave it there with you. Thank you so much for that. And reflecting on the passing of a well-known journalist, quite a true patriot that is Tshidi Madia.